Welcome to the Motivational Midwife. My name's Lynn Jones, and I was sent an email asking me if I would do a video on the NMC Evaluation station for international midwifery candidates. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So the evaluation station. This is the last station of the API. It's a very short station. You only have 8 minutes, and it is a verbal station. Therefore, your marking criteria is being marked against what you tell them, not against any notes you make. You are given time to make some notes, and I believe in the actual assessment, it states that the assessor will tell you when there are 2 minutes remaining. 2 minutes is not long enough, in my opinion, to actually get across all the information you really need to get across to cover all the marking criteria. So in my opinion, what you should do is ask your assessor to let you know when you have 4 minutes remaining. So you're given time to write some notes. Focus on the recommendations in your notes about what you're going to do. If we're still using that SBAR format, so situation, background, assessment and recommendations, if you're using that format, which is probably the best format to use particularly for this particular station, then focus when you're making those notes in those first 4 minutes on what are your recommendations, and these will be different depending on whether you have an antenatal, an intrapartum or a postnatal scenario. So looking at the marking criteria, this particular marking criteria is the intrapartum, so the labour and birth marking criteria, but they are very similar for antenatal and postnatal. The only difference with the postnatal one is you need to make sure you've given the discharge address as well. So that needs to be in there. But they're all saying, what's the reason for the handover? So that might be something like her name, she was admitted yesterday for whatever she came in with. She's been reviewed today by the doctors, and she is now fit for discharge back to community midwifery care or discharge home, or whatever the reason is that you're now handing this lady over. Then you're going to note all your previous history, and as you can see, point 4 down at the bottom says uses an SBAR tool to hand this information over verbally to the examiner. So this is, so you've already stated your situation, which is your woman's name, hospital number, date of birth, plus or minus your discharge address, depending whether she is postnatal or not. You've stated the reason for the handover, that she came in whatever day it was, and be careful with that, because for example, if you have an antenatal, she may have come in yesterday or the day before. So read carefully what your scenario says, because you need to reflect that in your handover. So you're stating the date of admission. She may have come in 2 days ago with a history of, or she may have come in yesterday in labour. She's now had her baby and is fit for discharge home. So you are actually incorporating 1B and 2A and 1A to some extent, all in that first initial bit of your verbal handover. That's your situation. Your background then, and you may remember from the video we did on the assessment, it's quite useful to use that SOMAD mnemonic. So what's her social history, what's her obstetric history, both previous and this current one, and what's her medical history, so any relevant medical history that might be pertinent, and is she allergic to anything, and is she on any medications. So there's your SOMAD, that gives you your background. And your findings from the most recent assessment. So what they don't want to do is say, well, when she came in, her temperature was this, her blood pressure was this, and now her temperature is this, blood pressure. That's just going to eat into your time when you're taking it. So you could say on admission her meow score was, and then state what it was and what the key points were, what you actually did with that information. So did you keep her on frequent meows obs? Did you send urine? Did you send blood tests? Did she have a speculum? Did she have CTGs? All of those things. So that's point 3B. You've outlined all the care and medical interventions that actually took place. And if there are any results back, then obviously that sits in 3A, your current findings from the most recent assessment. So your most recent assessment, you will be expected to actually highlight those. So if you have got those in your scenario, her current observations, so it may just say her observations are normal today, CTG is normal, there are no concerns, she's fit for discharge, then that's all you're going to be able to say. However, if your scenario actually states the observation, so temperature, blood pressure, pulse, etc., then you are expected to verbalise those as well. Okay, just the most current ones. And then you're coming to your recommendations. So this is point 5. What is required of the person taking over? And this needs to be a realistic plan of action. Okay, so it does need to be realistic. And it does need to be evidence-based. So if you've got a labour, say this is a labour marking criteria, then your plan would be outlining the care you expect this woman to have in labour. And if she's a low-risk labourer, then that would be low-risk care that you would be outlining. So the frequency of observations, how frequently you're monitoring the fetal heart rate, all of those things, bladder care, nutrition and hydration, all of those things. Likewise, antenatally, think about what is realistic. Is there any results to chase up? She needs an appointment with the community midwife? Has she got any follow-up with obstetricians? Those sort of things. Discharge paperwork to be done. Discharge letters from the doctors to be done, if that's the pathway in your trust that you're working from. And again, if it's postnatal, then what's realistic? Again, chasing up results, making sure she's got a community midwife visit, making sure that the baby has got appropriate follow-up, such as NIPE hearing, all of those things. And you need to make sure that your communication is clear and appropriate throughout. And obviously, as with all of your OSCE stations, you need to act in accordance with the NMC Code. So, as I said, we thought about the situation, the background, the assessment, and your recommendations. So with your notes, the time you've got for your notes, focus on writing what your recommendations are, because you should already have in your possession what the situation is, know her background, and you'll know what the most current assessment is from the scenario they give you on the evaluation station. And the key points to remember: don't spend too long writing. Ask your assessor to tell you when you have 4 minutes left. I think, me personally, I feel 4 minutes is the minimum amount of time you need to actually hand everything over appropriately. Be systematic in your approach. Don't forget to say who you are right at the beginning and the area you're working in, and that will be dependent again on your situation. And make sure that the recommendations you are giving are evidence-based. So, for example, if you're saying she's going to need to be monitored, have a CTG and all throughout labour, if she's a low-risk woman, what are you basing that evidence on? Because that's actually not current evidence-based recommendations. for low risk pregnancy. But if there is something else going on because of what she's come in with, then that might be appropriate. It's just really making you think, is what I'm asking people to do, is that appropriate for the situation that I am dealing with? And there you have it, the evaluation station. I hope that is helpful to you. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. Please spread the word amongst your colleagues and friends. And I look forward to seeing you next time.